Hello, hey, how you guys doing? James here. I'm going to cover a topic. It's called "Hit in the Closet" individuals who are basically they're racist. But right now you have a couple people on the campaign that been doing things undercover, sliding away, and it's going to affect who you should vote for, and you're gonna cipher what they do. And I'm gonna make my comments after these four videos, but starting with this one.
What's going on, everybody? If you're seeing this page, that means the official Tonya Rain Reloaded merch store is now available. To get access to the store, make sure you go ahead and click the store tab on my YouTube channel. From there, you will be able to see all the merch that is available. We have mugs, shirts, hoodies, joggers, and so much more to come. All original designs made by yours truly, Tonya Rain Reloaded. Now go ahead and get your merch today, and you can feel nothing in style. So we are back with another usual suspect, and this is someone I've never talked about on my channel before, but I've talked about the publication in which this person was a part of. And this man's name is Jan Wenner, and he is the founder of Rolling Stone. Now we've had our history or dealings when it comes to Rolling Stone for the last few years. Remember, they came out with that list, that top 200 best singers of all time. It was a top 100 or whatever it was, and that list just seemed kind of off for some reason, especially when it came to black artists. Well, now Jan is under fire and most likely out of a job because of some comments that he made as it pertained to black artists. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article that's coming from TMZ that was posted September 16, 2023. Rolling Stone's founder just lost decision-making power in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all because he called black and female artists inarticulate, TMZ has learned. A rep for the Hall tells us Jan Wenner has been booted from the Fame Hall of Fame's board of directors for their foundation. This after a vote was taken among the current members. Sources with direct knowledge tells us the only dissenting vote was from Jon Landau. Jan Wenner, who helped launch Rolling Stone magazine way back in 1967, did an interview with the New York Times this week in which he talks about who he interviewed for his forthcoming offering, The Masters, which contains wide-ranging sit-downs with 7 rock and roll gods. That includes Mick Jagger, Bob Dylan, John Lennon, Bruce Springsteen, Bono, Jerry Garcia, and Pete Townsend, all of whom, as the NYT Journal noted, are white and male. The Q. There are 7 subjects in the new book, 7 white guys. In the introduction, you acknowledge the performers of color and women performers are not just in your zeitgeist, which to my mind is not plausible for Jan Wenner. Janis Joplin, Johnny Mitchell, Stevie Nicks, Stevie Wonder, the list keeps going. What do you think is the deeper explanation for why you interviewed the subjects you interviewed and not other subjects? Wenner's answer is telling. He says, when I was referring to the zeitgeist, I was referring to black performers, not to the female performers, okay? Just to get that accurate. The selection was not a deliberate selection. It was kind of an intuitive over the years. It just fell together that way. The people had to meet a couple criteria, but it was just kind of my personal interest and love of them. He adds, insofar as the women, just none of them were as articulate enough on this intellectual level. The reporter pushes back incredulously, asking if he really doesn't think Joni Mitchell was articulate enough to talk music on an intellectual level. Wenner responded, "It's not that they're not creative geniuses. It's not that they're inarticulate, although go have a deep conversation with Grace Slick or Janis Joplin. Please be my guest. You know, Johnny was not a philosopher of rock and roll. She didn't, in my mind, meet that test. Not by her work, not by other interviews she did. The people I interviewed were the kind of philosophers of rock." He then said this about black artists. A black artist, you know, Stevie Wonder, genius. I suppose when you use a word as broad as masters, the fault is using that word. Maybe Marvin Gaye or Curtis Mayfield. I mean, they just didn't articulate at that level. So that's the entire article right there. So as you can see, it seems he had an issue with female artists and black artists, no matter what gender they fell into. He said in his own words that only the white male artists were articulate. And when it came to the black male artists, like, why am I even having a discussion as it pertains to them when it comes to discussing things such as masters of their craft, or say having masters over their music? But the way I'm seeing it, or the way he's framing it, is as black artists just aren't at the top of their game like these white male artists are, which many can beg to differ. I mean, we have artists such as James Brown, who's the godfather of soul. We have Aretha Franklin, who's the queen of soul. Michael Jackson, who is, in my opinion, the king of music, but they regulated him to the king of pop. It is what it is. Janet Jackson, a lot of people have given her the queen of pop, but I've also heard people give her the title of empress of pop as well. So hers is kind of interchangeable. And you have Mary J. Blige, who is the queen of hip hop and R&B. And so many other artists out there that I can't really name, who have amazing titles, who have a long resume of music. Whitney Houston, The Voice. But he thinks in his head that they don't articulate at the level of masters or master in his eyes, and that's why he got kicked off the board.
Good.
And mind you, like, again, this is the founder of Rolling Stone magazine. Like I said, this is the same magazine that a few months ago, I think it was a few months ago, had put out that list about the top 100 greatest singers of all time, or greatest artists of all time. And some of those numbers were shaky as far as the placement of a few of these artists. The fact that they had Michael Jackson, who has probably had one of the most illustrious entertainment careers ever, was in like near 30, that was very questionable. And then there were some artists that should have been on there that weren't on there. But that's fine. We don't need a countdown to tell us who is great. We know who we idolize and like who are great artists. But I'm not surprised this is coming from him, because there's also been some other controversy that Rolling Stone has been in over the years as it pertains to race as well. And then when you hear what this guy has said, it's not surprising. He's the founder, so he has a lot of say over there. They just can't remove him as the founder because it's the founder, but they say, well, we'll take you off of this board. But he's basically telling you the white man's ice is indeed colder. As a matter of fact, like literally on the book that says The Masters, on the cover it has the names of, you know, these artists on here, and there's nothing to take away from their talent or anything of that nature. But when he says that black artists don't articulate well, what exactly is Jan Wenner trying to say? Like, what is he trying to say? Again, that's that code speak. He's saying something, but you have to decipher through what it is that he's actually saying. He's basically saying that they're not that good, or they're not better than these other artists that he thinks are good. That goes back to even beyond the Rolling Stone, about how some of these award shows are ran, like the Grammys or the VMAs or the Billboard Awards, any type of music-based award show, especially them Grammys, who many have said has been biased for years when it came to black artists. So I'm not surprised that this dude came out the side of his neck and said what he said. And guess what? I'm not going to lose any sleep over it either. We know who we held up as great talent. I've always said that black people, specifically black Americans, are the trendsetters of the world. We drive the culture forward, and that most definitely includes musical talent in all forms of genres, whether it's hip-hop, R&B, classical, jazz, rock and roll. Ironically, they have this thing called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. For years, it took a lot to black people to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Ironically, a genre of music that black people created. And so on and so forth. We did that. Our ancestors So Jan Winter can take his little opinion, because that's really all it is, and shove it up his ass. And I'm glad they kicked him off of this board. Unfortunately, that's not going to put a dent in his pocket, or a hole in it, rather, I should say. But it did enough for them to get him removed off of the R&R Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame board, which means he really has no say anymore. Which basically also tells me he's the one that's over or involved with the voting process, because you know it's a voting process about who gets on there. I think they do like 5 nominees a year, and it's like a pool. And you know how many times like we've seen like wonder or question why a lot of black artists never got onto these Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like they never got inducted in, or why it took them so long to get in when they clearly showed their body of work. And it's like, why aren't they getting in there? I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL Hall of Fame is ran the same exact way. A lot of these institutions that are PC ran are very biased. But then again, we already knew that. So I would not be surprised if he had a say in that. Because I remember it was a thing where it was for years people was wondering why it took so long for Janet Jackson to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Because clearly she's been doing her thing since the 80s as far as music goes. Very consistently over the years. Very recognizable, and was able to step out of her brother's shadow. And she just got inducted in 2019, I think it was? Was it 2019? Yeah. When people said she should have got in a long time ago. I wouldn't be surprised if the reasoning why that was, if it was because of Jan Winter.
Well, all you gotta do is go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that show you right there. So Jan Winters don't know what he's talking about.
At JIS Orthopedics, our primary goal is to help our patients live their best lives. Our orthopedic specialists treat conditions of the hip, knee, hand, elbow, shoulder, and spine. Schedule your consultation today at JISorthopedics.com.
They show you the different.
How can we deliver energy to a world that can't stop? Ongoing energy access is essential for people.
What you think that was something? Watch this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I did the story on Joe Biden and him messing up LL Cool J's name, and then proceeded to describe his biceps and called him boy. So now I'm getting to MC Lyte, because she was also honored at that same congressional awards that was done on Saturday. And she has since come out to defend Joe Biden. And you know what, y'all? MC Lyte is probably the first female rapper that I really liked back in the day. You know, I know people like some of the ones, you know, like the early ones, Roxanne, and, you know, and there was Yo-Yo, there was Queen, Latifah, you know, there were, you know, and of course Lil Kim, but MC Lyte is the one I liked the most out of all of them. So when I saw what she said, I was disappointed. I was really disappointed. So let's get into it, y'all. MC Lyte has come to the defense of President Joe Biden after he referred to LL Cool J as boy, a term which has racial connotations. Biden honored LL and Lyte at the Congressional Caucus Phoenix Award on Saturday, September 23rd. But the sitting U.S. president caught heat for comments he made during his speech and getting LL Cool J's name wrong. two of the greatest artists of our time, representing a groundbreaking legacy of hip-hop in America. He said, LL Cool J, by the way, that boy, that man's got bigger biceps than my thighs. And MC Lyte, both of you, thank you. So that's what Joe Biden said, and I played the clipping for you in my last video. MC Lyte, she later took to her Instagram account Monday, which was September 25th, to address Joe Biden's comments, saying she believed he made an honest mistake and that they weren't said with any malicious intent. And then she goes on to say, thank you all of my brothers and sisters for your love and your warm embrace as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. She wrote, first, I want to say that I have nothing but respect, love, and admiration for my big brother, LL Cool J, for being a pioneer in this business, for helping me write some of my iconic rhymes, and for inviting me to be part of his tribute during the Kennedy Center honors. A high-ranking achievement which has only been bestowed to one hip-hop artist to date, to the GOAT, LL Cool J. I will forever thank, honor, and love him. She continued, in regards to the recent occurrence during the Congressional Black Caucus Phoenix Awards, I do not condone any disrespect of any kind, especially to a black man we all love and hold in high regards. I must say, I was actually there, and I do not believe President Biden's comments were malintended. He made a mistake I'm sure he regrets. One of my most fond memories is that of being in the presence of my elders when they make mistakes with my name, sometimes even my own. I pray that we will pay more attention to the historic importance of this moment than the errors that were made in it. Instead, MC Lyte suggested people should focus on the fact that U.S. President and Vice President are showing love to hip-hop for the first time. What we should all spend time on focusing on is, for the first time in history, both the President and Vice President of the United States together have acknowledged, embraced, and publicly shown their love and appreciation for a monumental achievement in hip-hop. She continued, let's try to show each other.
We are the revolutionaries of today.
At the University of Massachusetts Amherst, a revolutionary.
Try to show each other love and grace. Long live hip-hop. LL Cool J lit the national Christmas tree alongside Joe Biden and his wife, Jill, the First Lady, at the White House on November of 2022. Yeah, I remember that. I actually remember that. The most epic selfie you'll see today, he captioned in one of his Instagram posts, documenting the occasion. Such an honor to be lighting the national Christmas tree with the President of the United States. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know, she also went on to point out really fake achievements for the black community, and we know Joe Biden did not do anything for the black community at all, you know, and many people are calling MC Lyte, saying she's cooning, and, you know, I just hope she really think about what she has said and just realize that Joe Biden is no ally to the black community at all. He has not done one thing. Whenever you name something that he's done, it's generally things he's done for everyone, not specifically for us like he's done for the Asians and LGBTQ and the immigrants that are coming across the border. He does things specifically for them. And mind you, y'all, he's still flying the Haitians out of here. Anybody dark that comes in this country, he wants them gone. So, regardless to how she's trying to protect and defend and prop up Joe Biden, I have to disagree with her, and I do disagree with her. But I like MC Lyte. Like I said, I like her music. But on this one, I can't have her back on defending Joe Biden. You know, ladies and gentlemen, one thing I noticed throughout my life, whenever certain people, what they call make mistakes, they will actually pretend like the mistake never happened, or they'll downplay it like it's not important. I have seen our people in the black community era and this media and people all around will make a big deal out of it, blow it out of proportion, and do anything and everything they can to make that person from the black community look as bad as possible. You know, it's never let bygones be bygones, or you made a mistake, let's move on. It's never that when it's us.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right. That's true.
But y'all, please tell me what you think. How do you feel about MC Lyte taking to Instagram?
You know, it's not good, MC Lyte. Not good.
Well, tonight on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into something that we normally see around this time close to election season. Now, we know that the Democrats like to employ entertainers. They like to use them to talk to Black America about voting, because the Democrats believe that we're so silly and dumb that we will listen and follow entertainers, and unfortunately some of us actually are that way, and it's sad to say that. But you know, here we have a policy. We do not take any kind of political advice from an entertainer. An entertainer should do what they do, right? So case in point, tonight we're going to talk about Jason Lee. Now, Jason Lee is the head of Hollywood Unlocked. That is a gossip blogger site. So he gossips for a living about entertainers, what they're doing, what they're not doing. This man has been on reality TV like Love and Hip Hop, so you kind of know the realm that he's in. He's in entertainment. No issue, no problem with me. If entertainment is your salary, do that. But you need to stay in your lane. And this is why we will learn over the years that we do not take any kind of political advice from an entertainer. But we know that the Democrat Party uses them. Well, recently, Vice President Kamala Harris had a celebration for hip-hop at her home. And when we looked into the crowd and we saw the pictures come out, it was the same old cast of characters, the same old Boulay members, the same old sold-out crowd. It was no one from really the grassroots. Nobody has... that actually someone, right? You'd think they would try a new playbook, but they following the same old playbook with the same old people. Well, there was a video that came out of Vice President Kamala Harris dancing, right? And Jason Lee was there. Now, he was bothered about the response that people had toward Kamala, and he made a video taking black people to task. And this is why I want you to hear this. We're going to stop at certain points because we need to respond to it and get Jason Lee straight on some things. So let's go ahead on and get that started.
I've been looking at all the comments over the last couple of days of everybody that's had stuff to say, from white folks to Republicans to black people to white people about what black people should feel about it. I've been looking at all the comments, and my only question is, why do y'all hate her so much? Why do y'all hate her so much? What has Kamala Harris done to you that's made you hate her so much?
Criticism of someone doesn't mean you hate them, Jason. It's just criticism. No one actually used the words, I hate Vice President Kamala Harris. Nobody said that. They're just critical of her job performance. They're critical of some things she's done in the past. But criticism don't equal hate. But in the Democrat circles, you don't supposed to criticize them. And if you criticize them for any reason, even if, no matter how legitimate it is equal to hate. Let's continue.
She grew up in Oakland, California, which is not an easy city to grow up in, as a mixed biracial child, which I can tell you is a mixed breed, it ain't easy.
So right there, ladies and gentlemen, he just othered himself. That's make sure you keep that in mind anytime he's talking. He others himself. He doesn't center himself in his blackness. He makes sure when it's time to other himself. And who is he othering himself for? Let's continue.
She became an attorney. She became a female attorney general in California, working under a Republican administration. She then went on to become a state senator that we all love because she was in their ass about stuff over there on the Hill. And then got elected as the first female and the first black female vice president of the United States. And somehow she locked up all the black men in California. Really? When I read, she's doing nothing for the culture, she's doing nothing for black people. Really? She's bad for the White House. She's taking us backwards. We're gonna vote for Trump. Okay. Really? One, y'all don't want to eradicate the police department for people giving tickets to you for speeding in the 25-mile zone. You don't get mad at the police, you get mad at the lawmaker. Because the police didn't make the law that says you can't drive faster in that area. Yet, as Attorney General, for enforcing the Three Strikes law that was created by Pete Wilson, who was a white racist in California, makes her the bad guy? Half of y'all that talk about politics don't vote. The other half don't understand how the law works. And those of you that are talking about the Three Strikes law don't even live in California. So you don't even know how our laws work.
So as you heard what he was saying, basically the Democrat shields always employ the same old, you don't know what you're talking about. Basically, black people are dumb. You understand? So the Democrats use what you would consider an entertainer, some celebrity, or a court jester to come and tell you about political leanings, political policy, etc. Remember, this man talks about reality TV, Sukihana, Sexy Red all day, Chris Brown. That's what he do for his livelihood. He's going to come out of that realm to try to tell us why we have an issue with Vice President Kamala Harris telling you don't understand Three Strikes. Three Strikes was a federal policy as well with the 1994 crime bill, sir. Three strikes affected black people all over the country. But see, if you knew what you were talking about, if you had any kind of political education or you did this for a living, you wouldn't have made that statement, sir. Number two, sounds like you don't know what you're talking about. I haven't even got too far into the video. Then he's talking about when black people were saying, hey, look all the black people that she was locking up. And why didn't he address that when black people were being let out of prison, she was holding them there? Why was she holding them there in prison? Because she wanted them to keep cleaning the jails. And it took a judge in California to say, hey, Kamala, let those people out of jail. You keeping them past their sentence. This is why they don't like Kamala Harris.
Wow.
They don't like her because she was trying to jail parents for truancy, sir. It's not about those three strikes. It's a lot of things. But see, if you knew what you were talking about, you would be bringing these things up so you can at least challenge them.
Right.
This is why you need to stay in your lane as an entertainer and let us stay in this space that really affects black people. And then you're going to say, really? Like, okay, mass incarceration of black people is something you're going to say really about? Then the analogy you use is a speeding ticket. That's the analogy. Black people aren't never protesting because they're getting speeding tickets. I think the only place that black people was really talking about speeding tickets was Ferguson, Missouri, because they was
really giving black people speeding tickets over there to raise revenue for the city, and which all cities do that mess.
Right.
Cops have quotas they gotta make.
Right.
They claim they don't have a quota, but if they don't write so many tickets, then they're not doing their quote unquote job, right? It affects them on their performance evaluations, etc.
Wow.
So yes, they have quotas. Now, you want to talk about that issue, about raising revenue for the cities and using the police to ticket people for silly things? Hey, let's have that discussion. But black people never got out and talk about the police ticketing so much. Black people talking about what the police is actually doing. You sit over there watching Brad fight the police. Look at that video that just came out of Rhode Island. But when they were fighting the police, literally. I wish I could show that video on YouTube. I really wish I could. They didn't pull out no guns, and then they got mad when the cop smacked the girl. She hit her head on the concrete like, she look at that's all she got. Because even black people, all of them would have been shot. They were fighting the cops and everything. Then if a black person just halfway pull out a cell phone or just tell the cop something, they're ready to beat the person to death or shoot him 17 times. This is why we talking about the police. So Kamala was doing horrible things as an attorney general to black people, sir. But clearly you have no clue of that because you didn't bring up any of that in this so-called putting black people down. So you already upside down on a lot of your arguments and trying to insult people on intelligence. Just let's continue.
He says she's not doing enough for the country. She's not the president, she's the vice president. But when you look at what the president is doing, he's done a lot for the country. He just ain't on TV every day talking about it.
He's doing nothing for black people. And black people are tired. They're completely tired.
Why don't you know? Because their teams aren't communicating the best, and we're not paying attention the most. But what I will say is that when I looked at all the commentary of Kamala's dancing at the White House, at the vice president's party, it really disappointed me. There was a lot of great comments, like Black Twitter, a lot of great comments, people saying Auntie Kamala, and this is the Kamala we want to see. And I've told the vice president, I've told her team, this is what people want to see. But it was the racist, white supremacist uprooting of hatred towards a black woman that I saw from the right, and the complicit behavior of sleep black folks who were participating in it that disappointed me. Now, as a black gay entrepreneur, when white people hate on me or tell me I'm not ready or not.
Now you just seen he othered himself again. So first he mentioned he was black, then he said about Kamala being mixed, that he understand that what they suffered as being mixed people. I like to know what they're suffering actually. Then he othered himself again, saying that he's LGBT. I always tell people, watch out for people that are always othering themselves, because when they other themselves, they have different allegiances, and it's fully not to the black community. But I want you to listen to something real quick he's about to say, because I'm going to stop it and get back on camera for this.
For this or that or whatever, or they minimize who I am, it is what it is. I take it on the chin and I keep killing. But when black hate...
Now, the point I want to point out just now, what he just said at the end, when he's out here doing his gossip that he's doing, and he wants to be taken seriously, he wants his information to be viewed as credible, white people look down on him and don't view him as a credible source. So there was a black woman that showed up in his comment section, and she was telling him, well, the issue that we have with Kamala, the main issue is that she came out and said that she wasn't going to do anything for black people. So you say, well, you got a link for that or anything like that? So the young sister provided a link to Jason Lee. He follows up to say, well, a YouTube show isn't a credible source. I'm like, well, didn't white people say your show isn't a credible source? You're not Entertainment Tonight, and you're not TMZ, so you're not credible? Aren't you on YouTube and Instagram too? Aren't you on Facebook like everybody else? And these so-called credible sources you're talking about, guess what? They're all on YouTube. They all on Facebook. They all on X. They all on whatever platform they're going to be on, sir. Even those so-called credible sources. Let me tell you something. And you know good and well that people on the internet have broke way more stories than the so-called credible sources. So when white people put you down and your gossip down, right, and say you're not credible, you just, oh, well, I got to put up with it and keep it moving. But then you do the same thing to a black woman. who's trying to give you some information. Now, let's play with what the black woman actually said. Maybe some of you have never seen this clip before. It's a classic for us here. But let's play that clip of Kamala.
It affects black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit black children, black families, black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community and society as a whole in the country.
That clip right there, when she was running for president, she torpedoed her campaign saying that she's not only going to do something for black people. No. You understand? So black people never forgot that from her. Remember, Kamala dropped out of the race because she torpedoed her own campaign, saying things like this. You understand? Then you keep talking about people hating her, etc. Listen, no one hates Kamala. I don't have any hatred for Kamala at all. I haven't. Listen, how can I hate a woman who gives great content like this? Let's roll that.
To set up a permanent infrastructure, and relatedly, is the United States willing to make a specific allocation for Ukrainian refugees? And for President Duda, I wanted to know if you think, and if you asked the United States to specifically accept more refugees.
Okay. A friend in need is a friend indeed.
I love that clip from Kamala. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Listen, that was the funniest thing ever that I seen of Kamala. When she just started laughing like that because she don't know what she gonna say and she don't know what she's talking about, you clearly see that it's way over her head. It's funny to me. I can't even be mad at her. Personally, when I make my commentaries, I don't say Kamala, Kamala, Kamala. What do we say here? Biden, Biden, Biden. Why? Because he's the president, right? At the same time, Kamala could do more. But remember, she said a long time ago, she's not going to only do something for black people. Remember that news article that came out when they were talking about her and said she don't really want to do anything involving race or women. That's the two things that she wants to stay away from. So race, black people, she's staying true to her word that she don't only want to do something for black people, sir. See, if you had done your homework on the lady that you're pandering for, you would know these things are what I'm telling you. You understand? We all know that at the Boule Palooza that you was at Kamala's house, all y'all got checks or government contracts. They ain't gonna probably hand you a check, but they probably gave you a government contract. We see recently Boule Martin, he went to the Boule Palooza at her house, and all of a sudden now, you know, he's running Biden-Harris ads. Now, I know that they gave him a bag and he's running ads that he's putting into his videos, right? This is why Boule hang around a Democrat, so he can get a check. And this is why he's so angry. I think he's worse today than he's ever been. Now, we're going to continue with this video, but y'all have to get ready. These shills is going to be extremely vicious toward black people. Extremely vicious, but let's continue.
Happens, it hurts more. It hurts more when black people hate on you. Black folks have an epidemic in its culture and community in the United States that we need to understand, and that is the inferiority complex to white people and whiteness and self-hate.
I agree with Jason about that. That is a major problem with I would say the majority of black people in the United States, but that's also manufactured through white supremacy and 500 years of it. Let's continue.
Black community. Some of y'all don't like Kamala Harris just simply because she's great.
No, it's not it. See, this is what happens when you're not informed.
Some of y'all talk about you don't like her and don't support her, but you ain't done nothing to research her agenda or what she's doing. The white folks, when they saw her dancing at this party, it was only a 3.5-hour party, by the way, celebrating the global impact of hip-hop during its 50th anniversary. The white folks say, why was the border czar partying with the rappers? And then black folks would have been saying, if she didn't do it, why she ain't acknowledging black music and the impact it's had on culture? How is Kamala Harris the second most powerful person in the world, yet nothing she does is good enough?
I'm glad you just said that, sir. You said that she's the second most powerful person in definitely the United States of America. And she does nothing for the black community. She don't speak up for our issues. She don't advocate for a whole lot. She's not the president, but trust me, her voice alone could get a lot of things going for the black community. And then if you want to talk about hip hop, she did not acknowledge hip hop as a black American creation. She said about it being African roots and Caribbean, all these different things. It is a black American creation. And they're on this campaign in the media to try to erase black Americans from their creation. Basically what they're doing, they're trying to do a rock and roll now to hip hop. You understand? Rock and roll is a genre that black people created. Just like country music is actually a genre black people created. But when the folks want to come in and just really completely obliterate it, because see, they run hip hop, let's call it what it is. All these record labels and all these people are not no one from our community. Let's call it what it is. The folks is the one that owns all these record labels. And if our people wise up one day and say, I'm not signing no label deal, I'm just gonna put out singles, I'm gonna put out a video on my own, and I'll just travel the world doing that. That's like the smartest thing ever that an artist can do. You don't need a label anymore. You can put out your own EPs, and that's all you can do. 5, 6 songs. Why would you even waste time putting out a record? People ain't listening to records too much no more. People listening to singles now. You know what I'm saying? So what do you actually need the label for? You can probably distribution. Even Dame Dash talked about that. But really, you don't need a label because you have YouTube, you have Spotify, you got Tidal, you got all these different places you can put your music. You can make your own music videos now. It was something that you needed the label for at one point in time. Let's say back in the 90s and all of that, you needed the labels for that. Now the technology and people are there to do everything for you. You got access to graphic designers to make your album cover. You got access to everything. Studios you can do on your own. And you're not in no 360 deal. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to hip hop, that's something that we need to gatekeep and say, yes, that is our creation, that's our culture. We have to stop letting all these other people try to come in and say, I was doing it, and I created it, or I was part of it. No. Just like you gatekeep yours, Black America is starting to gatekeep our creation. So that was another issue that Black Americans took with what she was saying, is because you're just trying to dismiss Black America and try to other our creations. And that's an issue and a problem. That's why people took issue with that. We black folks wouldn't talk about no freaking border, about her, or anything.
She does is good enough. Everything she does is bad to white folks, and sometimes what she does ain't good enough for blacks. I'm confused. Black people, you need to go look in the mirror and ask you, why do you hate us so much? Why do you hate each other so much? I've never hated on anybody. I may give an opinion, I may be critical of a person's performance or something. I can say I don't like a person, but I respect their work, or I respect their work but don't like them.
Well, Jason, according to your logic, you hate them then. Because according to the Democrat logic that you follow, any kind of criticism of a Democrat is hatred. You didn't say like people are lying on her, because that would be understandable, like if people are lying on her, or people was just being mean-spirited for no reason, then I would be with you and say, nah, that's not right. But you're hating on artists then. If you're criticizing their music, you're criticizing them, you hate them, sir. So stop the hatred of musical artists and reality show people and bloggers. Stop hatred, sir.
I have to differentiate it. But at least I do my research and pay attention. What are you doing?
No, you didn't do your research because you know nothing what Kamala has done.
How is it that the vice president dancing to vibrant. How did that not make you say she's human? So let me go ahead and look into what she's doing so I can support her a little more. Because those of you saying you don't like Kamala, those of you saying that you don't like Kamala and are going to vote for Trump mean that you don't care about gay rights, you don't care about trans rights, you don't care that they believe that Muslims, or at least Trump believed that Muslims were terrorists, you don't care that women shouldn't have the right to abortion, you don't care about voter rights, you don't care about none of that because your little $300 stimulus that Trump gave you was more important than supporting a black woman to be successful. I'm writing for Kamala. I'm asking all my supporters to do it, and I challenge anybody that don't like her to tell me why.
I love the last part of that video. So what he was talking about with Kamala and the Democrats is he mentioned LGBT, he mentioned voting rights, he mentioned that sort of thing, and he's mentioned abortion versus he said I guess a lot of us like the stimulus that we had received underneath the Trump administration. I would tell you right now that every person in America would love another stimulus right now.
Yeah.
Where they're suffering.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. People can't eat voting rights.
Right.
People can't use abortion to keep a roof over their head.
Right.
And people cannot keep their car on the road focusing on what people do in their bedroom, sir.
Right. Right.
People worrying about their livelihoods. People worrying about being homeless, sir.
Right.
All the parts you need at the prices you want.
I'm going to go to this next one.
Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth. Vivek Ramaswamy, or Vivek Racist Swami as I like to call him, this little pustule is so sniveling, so pathetic, that I don't see him as worth commenting on, and that's why I've said so little about him. A lot of you panicked about Ron DeSantis for the last couple of years, and I told you years ago this clown wasn't going to go anywhere. He's part of a nationwide trend of GOP extremists going over the top to show their anti-black racism because they've gotten their teeth kicked in by us, and they're desperate to show that they can do, well, something. Even if it's not smart, at least it's something. Vivek is part of that same shameful pattern, and at the same time, not exactly. You see, for many decades, people in American politics have switched teams, as it were. Now, normally this happens with the political ideologues, the advisors, and consultants. Occasionally a party chairman like Michael Steele. Though not often you will have a Democrat or Republican politician who holds office and switches to the other party. But no matter what they may tell you, the only reason that they ever do that is based on whether they think that it's going to help them hold on to office. If the demographics and the voting base in their particular district has shifted, and they don't have the ability to switch to another district before the next election, then they'll just switch parties and claim, oh, I've seen the light, these guys are so extreme or they're so irresponsible, blah, blah, blah. Those are the usual talking points that normally get used. Politicians are creatures of self-interest. Their only allegiance is to whatever will keep them getting their bribes and payoffs. And then came Donald Trump. Up until Barack Obama was elected president, Trump was pretty much what you would have considered a New York Democrat. He even gave money to Hillary Clinton. He was left to center on issues like gay marriage and abortion, but the one thing that Trump had in common with the Republicans is his all-consuming hatred of black people. Of course, Democrats like Hillary and Biden are no different and no better, but they've never felt the need to be as publicly vocal about it as the Orange Man. This is why we see Vivek doing everything he can to mimic Trump, because essentially that is what he's doing. He's an example of someone trying to get in where he thinks he fit in. This guy back in the day took money from George Soros to fund his education at Yale, but today he claims that he didn't need it, which begs the question, why did he take it? And then he admits that he hasn't voted in dang near 20 years, assuming that's even the truth, though I find it completely typical that he claimed that he voted for a libertarian back in 2004. I've noticed a large number of anti-black racists who claim to be either libertarians or said that they had been libertarians at some point in the past, including people like David Simon, creator of HBO's TV show The Wire. As I see it, libertarians are just Republicans who want to legalize pot. And now that so many states have legalized marijuana, there's really no difference between the Libertarians and Republicans, which explains why Ramaswamy is running to get the nomination. This hopping back and forth from one political bed to the next by people in politics isn't new. And I suppose part of the reason that Vivek thinks that he can get away with all of this political bed hopping that he's been doing is because he sees himself as flexible. And that's only because his positions on the issues have been all over the place, except where it pertains to black people. That's about the only subject that he's been consistent on, that he's in favor of whatever is going to harm or disadvantage black people. He's not running for president, at least that's not the reputation he wants. He wants a reputation to be running as the anti-black racist in chief. And like all of these anti-black racists, he claims, oh, I just want to stop focusing on race. We talk about race so much. So what's the first thing he does? He immediately starts talking about race. He claims that white supremacy doesn't exist, that the mass murder in Jacksonville last month wasn't about race but mental illness, and that he wants to get rid of Juneteenth. Now, of all the problems that the pollsters and political experts talk about that they've talked to the voters on what list has any voters been saying Juneteenth is the biggest issue facing America? For that matter, what poll shows that anyone anywhere thinks that affirmative action is among the top 20 of problems that America faces? Nobody does. And yet that's what this guy's running on. Why does this creep run around spouting all this gibberish? Because these white supremacists think about race all the time. They think about black people all the time. As Lee Atwater, the infamous Republican strategist, said, whenever they talk about things like taxes or some other kind of seemingly general neutral issue, they're still talking about crafting policies meant to harm black people. Those are the code words that they like to use. Or rather, the context is what determines that it's a racial code word. When they say cutting taxes, that's code for cut any governmental resources that might go to black people. Because these same racist white supremacist businessmen on the right, they want government contracts and consultancies. They want that government money whenever they need it to prop up their businesses. You never hear them talking about taxes then, but that's because the money's going to go to them. So it's not about taxes. It's about sending the message loud and clear that Ramaswamy is the candidate of anti-black racism. He knows that there's a bottom-feeding constituency out there who wants to hear that, and he's serving up the slop to the pigs whose votes he desires. When you hear the black grassroots talking about how there are immigrant groups who come from cultures of anti-black racism and bring that to the U.S., Vivek Ramaswamy is what we're talking about. Now, he's not going anywhere as a presidential candidate. He's clearly auditioning for a job from whoever does actually get the nomination. We've seen this before. Bobby Jindal was an Indian-American politician from Louisiana. He was also a wannabe presidential candidate during the Bush years. Jindal did nothing to make a name for himself. He basically was a professional GOP cheerleader, and he hoped that sucking up to them would get him to the White House. Spoiler, it didn't. Vivek's trying to get a VP nomination or a cabinet position from Trump. That's what he's trying to do. He's jockeying for that particular position. There is precedent for this, by the way. Pete Buttigieg ran for president, you'll recall. He made a mediocre showing of himself. However, Biden made him transportation secretary. And Buttigieg has been doing absolutely nothing in that position. It's obvious that he's just trying not to antagonize the airlines and the car companies and the other interests whose financial donations he's going to want the next time that he makes another damned-to-fail run for the presidency. Now, this is not to say that racist Swamy's not a genuine bigot. He is. The fact that he's being this blatant with his anti-black racism shows that he's perfectly willing to make this his political reputation. The reason for that is because he has plenty of experience with having a rotten rep, yet still able to turn around as if he hadn't done anything wrong and just go on about his business. You see, Vivek made his money in what amounted to a pharmaceutical pump-and-dump scheme, but this was before he decided to become the candidate of white supremacy. A professional BS artist is what he is, and he's on the campaign trail because he figures the racist rubes he wants to cater to weren't among the people that he allegedly ripped off, so he ought to be okay on that front. And for the most part, he's been right. But again, while racist Swamy is never going to become president, that doesn't mean his anti-black race baiting is harmless. Like DeSantis, he's contributing to the non-stop drumbeat of attacking black people. So while these racists aren't going to get any further in their political careers, they will help to push the Republicans' program of laws and policies meant to attack the black community. Oh, and on a side note, to the GOP shills who pop up in the comment section saying stupid stuff like, "This is why y'all need to vote for the Republicans," or other idiots who start off their comments saying, I'm black and I'm voting for Trump, as if black folks cannot see right through it. Trump is offering us nothing. The GOP is offering us nothing. And why would any black person want to vote for a Republican when two of their current presidential candidates say that they want to rename military bases after Confederates? The Republican Party's decades-long track record of anti-black racism is the very thing that caused so many black people to run to the Democrats in the first place. And simply giving an empty denial and saying vote for the Republicans anyway, that's not going to work. The Republicans are no more our friends than the Democrats are. Now, whenever these guys decide to pull their heads out of the sand, or wherever else they got their heads tucked, and they decide to start talking like they got some sense, and acting like they seriously want our vote, then come and talk to me. But do you trolls understand something? Black people are not going to automatically switch to the Republicans just because we call out the Democrats' benign neglect. You act just like these Democrat shills who think that they can just drop some talking points about how racist the GOP is, and that we'll forget all about reparations and our tangibles and Biden's reprehensible record and vote for the Democrats no matter what. Well, that ain't gonna happen. And then you have the nerve to tell us that you're not racist? Sure, pull my other leg, why don't you? The trend that you're seeing among black voters now is the return to a proper political mindset of don't vote for someone unless they tell you specifically what black people are going to get. You're also seeing a new trend of black people actually keeping receipts on what these racists say and do. So when Ramaswamy or DeSantis or Biden calls themselves smiling in our faces, we'll be able to tell the scumbags where they can go and why. Now, if I had to call it, I would say that Vivek's gambit to try to get Trump to throw him a bone most likely won't work. Donald Trump liked some of the sucking up that Vivek did, but Trump doesn't like ambition in those around him, because that means that somebody might get the gumption to try to replace him. Vivek's younger and subservient, but he's also shown that he'll do anything for money or for a vote. Black voters can't afford to be naive. The GOP doesn't have our best interest in mind any more than the Democrats. And when the people who want to gain traction in the party all run to the exact same strategy of attacking black people, that tells me the party leadership is rotten, and so is their base. And that's the reason why we are not going to become part of it. Good day.
Now, for my comments on this situation, Ramaswamy is an opportunist. That's all what he is. He's an opportunist. He's not going to make it. And I wouldn't vote for him anyway. Some of the stuff he said is outrageous. You know, he's clearly, he's out of reality. He tried to, but he's a lame, he's a square. You can't really relate to people. You know, he's kind of one of the kind of people, he's like Kamala. He plays where he goes. Speaking of Kamala, what I meant to say was, you know, when he said something about, but she tried to play on black people because she went to a black college. Because she has some black sorority sister. She used her part of her dad's side, which is Jamaican, the part of considered black. She don't care nothing about that. She don't care nothing. She don't care. She's an opportunist, and she goes because she's trying to blow that shofar, blow the horn for Biden, so they go back in. And so, unfortunately, I hope black people don't fall for it, because you see what's happening to your neighborhoods right now with the illegal immigration. What's happened? What things went right now with your business and taxes and other issues. The guy with the Rolling Stone guy. Let me just say this: if that's the case, then he needs to go to Cleveland, because the pioneers are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum. And just like he said, not only that, everybody come behind black people and try to outdance them. Everybody in Denver Park, a black person would do a dance on any social media, and every walks of life try to mimic that dance. They try to mimic the rap style, everything. If you went 30, 40 years back, went rap and went to some of these people in this country, They ain't even know nothing about this stuff. They just started in the last probably 10, 15 years doing the things that urban American blacks started to do that transcend all around the world. Yeah, black people are the transcendent in America. Believe that. And you can see the culture in different languages and how the way they style. They listen to Tupac and Biggie Smalls and Snoop Dogg. Come on, man. And then you go back, let me give you the history. Black people were doing rock and roll in the 40s and 50s with Little Richard and Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, and all those people. And when they see how magnitude that they got it, the white people will always, and other people would try to compete against that in music. And they would get in the crowd, but they wouldn't get, but when the black artists do it, it's something that they had a sound to it that would attract even some majority white crowds when it comes to come to singing and the dancing and everything. That's what it is. And they try to, even when you come all the way from there, all the way through the 80s, with your boy bands. Black people started after the Temptations all the way up to a New Edition. They had to come with an Osmond all the way up to NSYNC and all them other ones. So they always mimic that. They always mimic that. Here come the white rappers because they always have the representation. So black people always leading. So when and they don't ever get no recognition, and it's the truth. Soul Train was the main one that brought it to the forefront. That's the truth. And when everybody seen Soul Train, every walks of life, everybody want to get on Soul Train. And it was hosted by a black man. Fact. And that's the truth. And then you had your dance party in the 80s and all these other groups. So that's the truth as far as the music. And that's what it is. And Joe Biden, about him, he know what he said. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, man. And if you're Black American, you're gonna have to make a decision on who and do some research on who you need to vote for. Don't just vote for somebody because it was all right. Right to vote. Vote because what can you to do with you as a collective. Vote for your children. Vote for your future, just like all the other nationalities do. Stop, and the reason why they come to you and use people like Kamala and Kamala go along with all these hip hop artists or whatever, because they think that's what they're good for. But you got some intellectual black people in the community can read and see through this stuff, and they don't want to talk with them to have some intelligence. And there are some black people that were very intelligent. They feel timid of. And even Biden, he didn't like conservative black people. That Clarence Thomas was one of them with the Anita Hill scandal. He don't like high black people in high position. He hasn't known for that. And then not only that he takes that mindset and do it to black countries in Africa and in Haiti. So it's the same thing that they do to us. It's the same mindset that when they go over to another part of the world, they think black people are the same way. That's where he come at from. He don't respect them as leaders and prominent people. He just put on the air, he put on the face. And that's why they can read right through it. Their eyes are starting to open up. It's the colonial mindset that white supremacy moved from generation to generation. The darker races are always so they have to come at you with so-called less intelligent speech. And when you don't do what they do, they punish you. They want to subjugate you, just like they do us here. They do it over in that. We're gonna suspend your funds, whatever. They do the same. They do it over here. And this is where you should get tired of it. Whether Republicans or the Democrats. This is what I said. This ain't got nothing. That's why I don't claim no party. I didn't even claim for the last 10, 15 years. For what? And when you know what they're both about. Some black people don't know what racism really, and they so delusional. No. And there was a point in time when I was in my 20s, in my 30s, I didn't quite understand it. But when you understand, and God gives you the ability to interpret what is it, is basically you're not a human being. You're still 3/5 of a human being. That's what basically what it is. As a community, they still view African American as 3/5 of a human being. And remember my slogan. Remember the slogan before I'm about to go off. Majority of the people that look like Biden, there's a certain percentage of people that look like Biden that think that when it comes to black people, as a whole, be visible. When you're singular, you invisible. When there's a majority of them, you're invisible. When there's a majority of you, you're visible. So that's how they take that. And then when they think, so they can't come to you as collectively as invisible. And that's just something is deep rooted in white supremacy. White supremacy will always think that they're better than other races. And you look at the history of it. So they carry that same spirit. And that they carry it. People like Biden. And then some people on the Republican side, like DeSantis, Swami. Because what they see. And Kamala plays up on it too. Don't be fooled because she went to a black sorority. That's done for a reason. Even Obama, that was done for a reason. Remember, this one thing, Farrakhan was right. One time he said that. I don't usually listen to Farrakhan, but one time he said something powerful that stuck out in my mind. He wasn't the only one. Obama was selected before he became elected. Think about it. So they give you somebody that kind of give you an actor that's just talk this swagger. Ooh, he got a black white because they play on your mentality. They play on your mentality, and they think that you still like the old black folks and stuff that has little dilute language, ebonic language. So that's why they always talk to you like that. You need to understand how sometimes racism ain't always direct. It's indirect. It's subtle. And as a black American, some of us are understanding. When you've been up under the system in this country, in other places like this country, you understand what racism is about. I see you. We were taught all God's people. But that's right. We were all taught God's people. But black people, there are some people don't think all God's people are the same. There are some people that they'll go to church with you, go to whatever ceremony with you, work around you, be educated with you, and still think that you're at the bottom of the totem pole. Why? Because they envious, jealousy, and resentment. It's something that it was taught from generation to generation. That's what it comes down to. So that's why they don't find you equal. Some people don't. Not all, but some. Sometimes racism, and this is the same one. Now they started, as you listen to these content creators, they're showing you how Vivek and DeSantis and Joe Biden, you see how they go? And then these silly people who are black going behind these celebrities. They don't understand they're being manipulated, being used. Because after a while, thank you for helping me get through. But now you're going to be kicked to the door. See, this is what a sellout don't understand this. It don't matter what side, if you're Republican or Democrat. You going so hard, but they'll laugh with you. But you're still not in the club because You're not us. You're not Aryan. You're not white. You're not intelligent. They don't say it. They let you know by their display. That's all I got to say. You don't believe me? I'm going to tell you what this old saying goes. Keep living along. Let God open up your eyes. You'll keep learning. You'll see. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed this video. Share it, subscribe next time. And hopefully it'll wake somebody up and get them to think. It's not always about racism. It's not always direct. It's indirect. Subconsciously, they see you. They see it here. Before they see it with their eyes, they see it in here. And it comes out here. Think about it. Alright then, be blessed. Until next time, take care. Be cool.